last Tuesday, we went and celebrated our 8th year wedding anniversary. For those of you that don't know, that's my wife and my father and mother-in-law. And what most of you don't know is the thing that makes it so special for us is that when we got married, our father-in-law and mother-in-law had been dating for over 30 years but had never been married. And so what we did was we decided they asked if they could do a mini ceremony right after our wedding and get married as well. So we surprised all of our guests in a very little short quick service, and they were married on the same day that we were. So we always get together and we celebrate that together. And I just thought that it was such an incredible night. We went down to Madrid. Anybody been to Madrid? It is an incredible restaurant at the top of the Amway Grand. I forget what the name of it used to be, but it is absolutely stunning. The view is stunning. The food is just off the charts. A little expensive, but I'm telling you, the evening itself was magical. It was magical. And as I was sitting there thinking about that, the word that kept coming into my mind was just joy. My heart was completely and totally filled with joy. And I was thinking about the talk that I've been given the last couple of weeks, this idea about raising your vibration. And I just thought to myself, it's kind of like joy can be this incredible star. It can be the thing that can guide us in terms of paying attention to those things that get us closer, in my opinion, to God and to the divine. And as I thought about that, I started doing some research. Did you know the word joy appears in the Bible 430 times versus 10 for the word happiness? It's fascinating to me. And when I thought about that, I just thought to myself, joy is such an experience to me. It's real. How many people have had a joyful moment and know exactly what I'm talking about? Thank God, because if you're not raising your head, you're probably dead. So most of us have had that experience of this tremendous joy. And so this thing comes over us, and it's just this beautiful moment where just everything just feels right. It's so deep, and it was so profound to me, and I was so grateful for it. And so I started this contemplation, and I looked up in the Bible, and I thought of Jesus when Jesus said, "These things that I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full." So obviously Jesus is thinking, this joy thing might not be a bad gig. So you might want to think about playing with it a little bit. And you know me, I'm always going to make it a little bit different. I'm going to bring it into my reality, how I understand it, so that you can understand joy on your level. But that's how I interpret it, because in my mind, Jesus was really saying when you're connected with God, when you fully understand who and what you are and your connection with your divinity, that this is a natural byproduct of what happens. It'll just happen. And so I started contemplating that, and then I thought about unity, and what unity believes is that joy is a divine quality, an expression of God's nature within us. It suggests that true joy comes from aligning, and this is what I love, with our divine nature. In other words, who and what we really are, an expression of the divine. Simple, pure, holy, innocent, beautiful, gorgeous, fabulous, you are that expression of the divine. And when we can get our heads and all the judgments and everything out of the way, we can actually start to have that real life experience I keep talking about. And so I wanted to look it up and saw that, okay, so joy is this feeling of great pleasure and happiness. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, that's cool. And then I thought, why don't I have that more often? In other words, why is that not my experience? And what happened following that was this dialogue that I had with Spirit. Now, let me just explain something to you. It's not like I necessarily, when this happens, that I hear like this, "Hey, Mike, let's have a conversation." That's not how it works with me. The way it works with me is I'll get a thought in my head, and it'll say like, "Pay attention." Because you're about to hear something, and it may take a minute or two, or it may take a couple of days, or it may take a couple of weeks. But regardless of how long it shows up or how long it lasts, it's different every single time, and it sounds differently every single time to me. So what I'm going to share with you is this conversation or this thought process that I went through when it came to joy, because I found it fascinating to me. And by the way, each and every one of you can do the same exact thing. When you actually start to slow down enough to listen, Spirit will absolutely talk to you. No questions asked because of who and what you are. So I thought about that for a minute. How often am I experiencing joy? And what came to mind was this thought that said, you know, Mike, in truth, you're actually cheating yourself. What do you mean? And I said, why? And Spirit said, you're looking at this thing entirely the wrong way. And I was like, okay, well, what do you mean? And Spirit said, well, because there's so much more that you're leaving on the table. And again, I'm sitting there going, okay, to explain, please, because I'm not getting it. And Spirit said, joy, in truth, is always present, always. It's never not present. And I'm going, how is that true, right? And Spirit said, the mistake people make is they've been taught to think that joy is a result of external happenings and circumstances. So in other words, we look outside of ourselves to see if something has happened or something didn't happen, and then we say, oh, I'm going to be happy about that now. I can have joy now, or whatever. And it's not really the way it works. And then Spirit said, for example, the dinner you had the other night, there was a lot of joy there. Was there not? And I was like, yeah, there was joy there. It filled my heart. And then Spirit said, well, we're not arguing you didn't experience joy. What we would say is that it is available in every single moment, and it doesn't need to be this grand moment with all these things aligning just perfectly in order for you to experience it. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, really? And then the voice came through and said, joy is one of my greatest gifts to you. It's one of my greatest gifts to you. And I said, really? And Spirit said, yes, really. And I said, go on. You got my attention. I'm listening, right? And then I heard joy is always available, not just in those special moments. It really comes down to choice and practice. And I said, what? And it was like, choice and practice, Mike. Choice and practice, choice and practice, choice and practice. And it said, if you want to experience more joy in your life, choose it often. How often are you choosing joy, Mike? And I thought to myself, well, I guess I never really thought about that before, that it could be as simple as possibly a choice. And then Spirit said, the reason most people don't experience more joy is that they're waiting for it. They're waiting for it to happen, and they don't have to. You don't have to. It's available right here and right now. So, of course, my mind the skeptical side of me wants to poke holes in this whole theory that I'm listening to. And I said, well, wait a minute. What about people going through a difficult time? Where's the joy in that? And then Spirit said, oh, you mean like when your brother passed? And I said, yeah. And Spirit said, well, what happened actually the day that he passed? So for those of you, most people know this. My brother passed away on Father's Day this year. And he lived with us the last 5 weeks of his life. And while there was absolute grief, there was absolute tears, there was absolute pain, there was absolute agony, all the above that happened, what I'm going to tell you, being in his presence, by his side, when he passed, was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life, without a doubt, without a doubt. And then after he passed, yes, of course, the tears and the sadness and the grief and everything that came for about an hour. And then I'm like, oh, the heck with this. I need a beer. Dear God, I need a beer. And so what was incredible about it was that we had and this was not planned, by the way. We had my family, my wife, my sister. We had our friends with us. Scott was there with his boys. And what unfolded in the next 4 or 5 hours was, I think, one of the most magical moments and beautiful moments that I've ever seen in terms of celebrating somebody's life with dear, dear, dear close friends and family. Holding him, laughing. We pulled out the guitars. We sang music. And it was magical. And it was there. And it was undeniable. And so as I thought about that, Spirit said, so was there joy there? And I said, well, yeah. I mean, I would really say that there was both. And Spirit was like, yeah, but it was there. It was there. We're not saying that it may not be difficult at times to find it, but just know it's there, even in those difficult times, even in those difficult times. And then Spirit said, if you never choose it up front ahead of time, you will struggle to see it or experience it. So in other words, I have to choose. I have to choose. I have to decide this is what I'm wanting in my experience. Joy, 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 joy. And what's fascinating is I start going into this understanding and I start calling on it more and more and more. What's happening is it's starting to happen more and more and more. Just by saying and waking up in the morning, today I'm choosing joy. That's what I'm choosing. I'm choosing joy today. That's it. And so I'm playing with this thing. I'm doing this dance with this thing called joy. And it's becoming like a lot of fun. Like I'm really having a good time with it, you know? And so I start thinking about this, and Spirit goes on to says, you know, choosing it, and only do that if you want to experience more of it. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you to choose joy if that's not what you want, but we're just saying maybe become a little bit more conscious of who and what you are, who and what God is, and maybe asking for more of it, thanking God for more of it. And then Spirit said, by claiming it up front, you're letting the universe know what your preference is, and it has no choice but to respond because of who and what you are. And I was like, whoa, really? It's like, yeah, really. I was like, wow, that is so cool, right? And it made me think, and then it went on to say, it said, the more you choose it, the more you will see it, the more you will experience it, the more you will expect it. So I'm just going to say that again. The more you choose it, the more you'll see it. The more you experience it, the more you'll expect it. And that, having that mindset when it comes to joy, is my sweet spot. It's my sweet spot, right there. May not be your sweet spot, it's my sweet spot. And so now, guess what happens? I get up in the morning, and I'm going like, yes, please, more of that, more of that, more of that, more of that. And speaking of choice, it just reminded me in the book, Man's Search for Meaning. Anybody ever read it? Yeah, it's been around for a super long time. Beautiful book, beautiful story about Viktor Frankl, who spent time in World War II in the prisoner of war camps. And he realized that what he came down to it, he noticed that there were some people that made it. Not very many, but the ones that did all had one thing in common, and that is they could choose what meaning they gave to the experience of being in one of those camps. And the people that had more of a positive outlook to it, they generally did better in terms of surviving. In the book, he says, everything can be taken from a man or a woman, but the one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. You know, there was a part of me that felt guilty during my brother's wake, if you will, because I thought it was beautiful. And the more I thought about it, it's like, that's ridiculous. Why would you feel guilty when he was there, in my opinion, and experienced the joy and seeing the laughter and seeing the fun and hearing the songs we were singing and joining us? Like, why would you feel guilty about that? Just because I was able to see it and feel it and sense it. And yet there was something inside of me that was saying, hey, wait a minute. Are you sure that's okay? Isn't that crazy? But I think we all do that at times. So it's this ability to see and feel this joy. And so the next thing that came to my mind, I'm going to leave you with is a couple of thoughts about people who struggle with joy. So if you're struggling with joy, having it, I would say let the universe know that's what you're choosing every single day. Like, make it a priority. Make it important to you. This is what I want to experience. Do that. The second thing that I would suggest doing is engage your inner child. Now, I'm just going to tell you that the other day I did a walk out onto the land. Many of you know that we live on 26 acres, and we just opened a retreat center, and I was just walking the land. And there was a part of me that just felt this nudging, this tugging. And it was just this joyous little child that I hadn't had a chance to talk to in a little bit. And it wanted to play. It wanted to go out in the land. It wanted to look at mushrooms and tell the mushrooms that it loved it. It wanted me to hug a tree. And I just let this child run wild on this land. And it was so joyous, and it was so fun. And it also made me forget that that little child that we all have, by the way, all of us have this inner child, is so innocent and wants to play. That's all it wants to do. So if you're struggling with having some joy, my suggestion to you is you might want to invite the little child to come out and play with you and watch the nudges, watch the intuition, watch what it starts to tell you it would like to do. And the biggest thing I can tell you, no matter how crazy it sounds, within reason, do it and watch what happens and watch that joy. I just think that what happens is we get busy in life. I think that life starts to get us down. We're paying bills, we're working our jobs, we're dealing with things that we got to deal with as adults. And I just think we lose the ability to play. And I know myself, guilty is charged. But with this recent experience, I'm telling you right now, I am like letting that kid come out and let it rip. Go, have fun, tell me, because I've forgotten. And my little child is like, oh, thank God, let's go play. And so engage your little child. I just took that picture because to me, I think small children have got joy down in spades. You ever want to see pure, unadulterated joy? Watch a small child. They are so still connected to spirit, to the divine. They haven't forgotten who and what they are. They haven't forgotten who and what God is. And when you can tap into that joy, that is a natural expression of what joy comes out as, this beautiful connection from the spirit. And last but not least, I would say, ask spirit just to bring you more of it. Actually do that. Try it and see what happens. Make it a priority. Yes, there's more room. Give joy space in your life. Give it a chance. They said give peace a chance. I would say let's give joy a chance, right? The very last thing I said was smile. And I saw this picture and it just made me laugh. Isn't that beautiful? So, anyway, sincerely, that maybe you come away from this talk with this idea, this thought that this thing called joy is God's greatest gift to you. And it's always on. And it's just us deciding like that is really super important to me. And it kind of ties into what I've been talking about the last couple of weeks with this idea of raising our vibration, raising our vibration, raising our vibration. And to me, focusing on joy is one of the keys to be able to do that. So, my challenge to you, should you choose to accept it, is to consider taking this thought, this idea, and playing with it. Like seriously, like invite your inner child and say, hey, I have this idea. Why don't you and I go start playing with joy and see what happens? Watch what happens. Watch what shows up. Watch what things, and don't be surprised if all of a sudden you're out in the parking lot somewhere blowing bubbles that you just weren't in because you had to have some bubbles to go play with some bubbles because it's the silliest thing ever. But there's just tremendous innocent joy. Innocent joy. And I think we all could use a little bit more than that. Having said that, thank you for joining us this morning, all of you. I'm so grateful and blessed. Every single Sunday, I get up here, I see the faces, and it just touches my heart that we get to come together as a community. We get to love on each other. We get to hold each other. We get to pray for each other. And we get to do this thing called life together. And we get to have crazy, wild conversations about God, about life, about our divinity, and all the things. And then we stand together in unity, which I think is the most beautiful thing ever. Thank you so much for what you're doing, for being here. It's not easy being here right now with all the crazy stuff going on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless, namaste, and namaste. Hey, it's Reverend Mike here. I just wanted to stop for a moment before you get on with your day, and thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It means the world to us, and I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that we can do to make your experience even better, please do not hesitate to reach out by going to our website. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity for us to get together and sit down so I could get to know you a little bit better and answer any questions that you have. I can either do that by either getting together in person, have a cup of coffee, or we can meet online via Zoom. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at michael@courage2thrive.com. And lastly, if you find these messages are helping you, we would be tremendously grateful if you'd consider donating to the center. The best and the easiest way to do that is simple. Just go to our website. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're doing well. God bless, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.